This week, we find ourselves at a very interesting crossroads in the Torah. Last week, in Parshat Ki Tisa, we encountered one of the most infamous, difficult, and relatable incidents in the Torah. Does anyone know what it was? The golden calf. You clearly come to Torah study. For the last 40 days and 40 nights, Moses had been atop the mountain conversing with God, receiving what we now know to be the first set of the two tablets. While Moses was away, the Israelites got increasingly impatient and, understandably, worried that he was never actually going to come back. They had just come out of Egypt a few weeks ago, away from the only homes and the only life that they had ever known, and all of a sudden, their leader disappears for over a month with no explanation. It's very understandable why they would fear for their future and find themselves in a crisis of faith given these circumstances. Lashing out in fear, the Israelites confront Aaron, demanding that he help them fashion a new God to worship, because clearly this whole Moses and God thing is just not working out as planned. Aaron eventually relents when the Israelites complain and jammer him enough, giving in to the demands of the mob. The Israelites rip off their earrings and bring forward all of their precious metal, and Aaron produces for them a new, shinier God model, an upgrade in their eyes, and the object of their affection, the golden calf. When God gets wind of this, what's going on in the Israelite camp, God understandably flips out. This was not exactly part of the plan, and threatens to Moses to completely wipe out the Israelites. Moses pleads with God on the Israelites' behalf, begging God to continue to have faith in the Jewish people, and God eventually listens to Moses. But when Moses comes back down the mountain and sees what is going on with the two tablets, Moses flips out and becomes enraged and smashes the tablets on the ground and gets really, really angry at the Israelites. Eventually, everyone calms down, and Moses goes back up the mountain. And in an attempt to reset Israelite society, Moses comes down at the start of this week's Torah portion and has a big job in front of him. He has to create a community out of this group that has just gone completely awry from everything that he has instructed them and has lost all faith in God. That is the moment that we find ourselves at the very start of this week's Torah portion, Vayachel. Just as Moses comes down the mountain, our portion opens with a pivotal scene. Vayachel Moshe et kol edat b'nei Yisrael vayomar aleihem. And Moses gathered or brought together all the people of Israel in one place and said to them. It's a precarious moment. The first time that Moses has seen them since smashing the tablets and God sending a plague upon them. Imagine for a second that you were Moses. What would you do at this moment in time? Your people have just blasphemed God and created a literal golden idol. You lashed out at them, God sent a plague against them, and after going away on a retreat for a month, now you have to talk to these people for the very first time. It's your first chance to address them, your first chance to set the tone and move the group forward together. How do you reset society when people have lost their sense of ethical and spiritual direction? What do you do to restore moral order for a people? Questions that perhaps are on some of our minds as we read the news day in and day out these days. Regardless of our perspective on current events, the Torah gives us a very clear answer this week for how to focus our energy at pivotal and precarious moments. Any guesses? Shabbat in community. First, observing Shabbat. The very first thing that Moses does when he gathers the Israelites is remind them about the laws of Shabbat. And Moses gathered all the people of Israel together in one place and said to them, "These are the things that the Eternal has commanded you to do. On 6 days work may be done, but on the seventh day you have a Sabbath, a Shabbat of complete rest, holy to the Eternal. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your settlements on the Sabbath day." Ahad Ha'am once stated, "More than the Jews have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jews." Simply put, according to our Torah portion, the most important thing we can do for ourselves, for our families, and for our society is Shabbat. No matter what the circumstance, and especially at times of unrest, uncertainty, and fear, like the Israelites found themselves in this week in Vayachel, the answer remains the same. Celebrate Shabbat. Set aside one day as separate from the rest, solely for the purpose of rejuvenating your mind, body, and soul. Truth be told, there are very few things, in my opinion, that one can encounter in life that can't be made better by taking a moment to pause, rest, and reflect. As the current director of our congregation's Conversion and Choosing Judaism program, the only book that I require all of our conversion students to read, they each get assigned many others individually, don't worry, is The Sabbath by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, which so clearly highlights the power of Shabbat. Shabbat is an idea so fundamental to Judaism and to the Jewish people that I strongly personally believe that everyone becoming Jewish must adopt it in some way and make it their own. Rabbi Elliot Kleinman explains that Heschel teaches us that Shabbat is a sanctuary in time. According to Heschel, in providing us with this model of a sanctuary in time, God gives us a taste of the holiness that could be ours to choose to create a sacred space. Each week, Shabbat can help us to get through the coming week ahead. By enabling us a taste of a bit of holiness in time, Shabbat reminds us to seek holiness throughout our weeks. As a result, when we leave the sanctuary of time, in other words, when Shabbat ends, we can rededicate ourselves to the construction of sanctuaries in our lives, our homes, our congregations, our communities, and our workplaces. We can do this by avoiding the urge to create idols and seeking to use our wealth, our hopes, and our dreams as building blocks to create a better world. Heschel writes, Judaism is a religion of time, aiming at the sanctification of time. Judaism teaches us to be attached to holiness in time, to be attached to sacred events, to learn how to consecrate sanctuaries that emerge from the magnificent stream of a year. The Sabbaths are our great cathedrals. So, after reminding the Israelites of the importance of marking Shabbat each and every week, Moses then moves on to a second fundamental concept, spending that Shabbat in community and marking time with fellow Jews, represented by the Israelites building the Mishkan, or sanctuary. In contrast to the golden calf of last week, the construction of the Mishkan represents the Israelites coming together as a community to accomplish a shared positive goal, a sacred goal together. The Mishkan represents a place where the Israelites and their priests will come together to worship, to sacrifice, and to mark the passage of time together, Shabbat to Shabbat, holiday to holiday, as they reform and reshape their society together. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs taught that the best way to turn a diverse, disconnected group into a team is to get them to build something together. And the best way of strengthening relationships is to set aside dedicated time when we focus not on the pursuit of individual self-interest, but on the things we share, by praying together, studying Torah together, and celebrating together. In other words, by doing Shabbat. Shabbat and the Mishkan were the two great community-building experiences of the Israelites in the desert, and they can help us today. Moses instructs the Israelites, all the Israelites whose hearts so move them, to contribute their own unique gifts to building the communal holy sanctuary. A myriad of details are provided about the types of gifts that individuals could provide and the intricate way in which these individual donations come together to create the complete sanctuary of beauty. The end product of Moses' instructions is a beautiful mishmash of the contributions of a myriad of unique individuals, a sum that is greater than its parts, and an end product that is not only the sacred object in itself, but also the holy process of building a product together and inhabiting it as a community day in and day out. It's a combination of the Israelites coming together to create a sacred space and the repeat weekly action of sanctifying sacred time in that space that helped Moses slowly transform the Israelites from a fearful group who made a golden calf without moral direction into a kahila, a sacred community. If Shabbat has kept the Jews through the sanctuaries from our first trek into exile from Egypt to this very week, our Torah portion this week has one very clear and simple message for us all. Let Shabbat hold and keep each of us in our own ways this next 24 hours. In big ways and in small ways, it's a lesson that seems simple and, dare I say, obvious, but one which is worth repeating and reminding ourselves of these days, especially in our technology-filled society, especially with chaotic jumbles of news coming at us from all directions, and especially with all that modern life throws our way day in and day out. We could all use a little bit more Shabbat. If we are doubting ourselves, as the Israelites did in Moses' absence, we can let Shabbat hold us and restore our faith. If we find ourselves beset by illness, or if we can't decide where the truth lies, if we just aren't sure which way is up anymore, we can let Shabbat help us find peace. No matter who, or simply, if you're tired and had a long week, we can let Shabbat restore our souls. No matter who you are or what brought you to temple tonight, my hope is that each of you let Shabbat hold you and keep you in the way that you need this week. In doing so, we can slowly, one Shabbat at a time, reset and rejuvenate our Mishkan, our community, and our lives. We can make something greater than ourselves in the peace of Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.